You've raised a very important point about how you need to also convey this idea to the parents and how there's a different kind of expectation. A material you love working with. So much of the landscape, the empty space. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Visible Studio. The Visible Studio is a podcast exploring the intersection of art, design, creativity, and education. Through conversations with educators, artists, researchers, and innovators from around the world, we uncover how creative practices can foster deeper thinking, stronger connections, and more inclusive learning experiences. Joining us today is Jia Yogi Yu, an experienced international educator and visual arts teacher whose work spans diverse cultural and educational contexts. Through her commitment to inquiry-based learning, visual literacy, and student-centered practice, Jia explores how art can become a powerful language for communication, identity, reflection, and student agency. Her work highlights the potential of visual inquiry to create an inclusive space where every learner can be seen, heard, and understood. So, with that, over to you, Jia, and welcome to the Visible Studio. And I'm so happy that you are here.
Thank you, Dad. So it's really, really happy that you invited me to do this podcast with you. Yeah. So let me start to share my slideshow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes. Hi. Thank you again for having me today. So, today, like my idea is about the beyond words that we can actually using visual inquiry to support the student's voice actually in bilingual or multilingual classrooms. So I would like to talk about how visual thinking and art making as inquiry can support multilingual learners. So actually in the international classroom, students often have rich ideas or strong feelings and personal experiences. So, but sometimes actually the language becomes a barrier because students all come from different backgrounds. So actually as a visual art teacher, I have found that images, materials, or sketches, all the process of the work that can actually help the students to express idea before they are fully ready to explain themselves in English. Okay, so now let me introduce myself shortly before I start. Okay, so I'm currently working as visual art teacher and extended essay coordinator in a Beijing International Bilingual School. So I'm also the IBAN workshop leader for both NYP and the DP, and also the DP Visual Art Examiner and Cambridge Assessments CAIE Assessment Specialist. So luckily that I'm holding the USA, UK QTS and the Chinese arts teaching lessons. Yeah.
Okay, so oh my God, you didn't share all your credentials with me before. That's amazing.
So yeah, actually I finished my bachelor and master degree in UK from Central St. Martin's. Actually, I learned a lot when I was a student. So I want to pass the art making us inquiry these ideas or these thoughts to my students and helps them to better prepare their thinking. Yeah. So actually my teaching practice is always focused on how the students develop ideas, express meaning and build confidence through visual language, but not just art making skills. Okay, so the topic that we're going to talk about is very important. Okay, because like many students in our school are learning through English, but English are not their first language. So sometimes when I ask my students to explain their ideas in English, they may become quiet because the language bridge is broken. So and then actually they've been quiet. It doesn't mean that they don't understand. They understand, but their language, they have the language barrier. So um, so I think that just means that they just don't have the words to express themselves about what they're thinking. So actually in the visual arts, the students can begin with what they see,
Yeah.
okay, and then arts visual like inquiry that can actually help students to build like confidence and develop a thinking and later connect to their ideas language. So actually their visual understanding come first. So student understand their ideas visually before they can explain them in English. So I showed this process portfolio from my students, and then they start from observing the real things or the artist's work actually, and then start to think. And actually they stay quiet, but that doesn't mean it's empty. The
This is
student
a very,
actually,
very important point because when I was teaching in China, I realized
yeah,
in the cultural context, the behavior changes. And generally,
yeah,
the Chinese students would be very respectful, very quiet, very introvert. So, generally,
yeah,
what happens is we have a lecture, we're introducing a topic, and we say, okay, if you have any questions, please raise your hands, and no one
yeah.
would. And later on,
Actually, it's the students like language barrier, and it also
exactly,
happens
exactly.
when I was studying like in my when I was doing my bachelor degree.
Yes, yeah.
Actually, I don't think that my English was fluent during that period. So actually, I'm quite afraid to talk, but I have ideas. So actually, in my first or second years, I really love to do like group work with Chinese students because we don't have language barrier.
Yes,
And
exactly.
yeah, but sometimes the students from the other countries may have misunderstanding about, okay, why these Chinese students always
Stick
like to stay
together.
by
Yeah, they
themselves. But
say they
actually,
don't make.
yeah,
Yeah, so this I realized, and in 6 months, I understood
yeah,
that as teachers, and this goes for all the teachers who are teaching in different cultural contexts. So in China, I realized it works one on one. So when I go
yeah,
personally to a student, very close, and say, okay, let us discuss this. So then the student can slowly come out of the shell and even in the broken language can explain it to you. But they are not confident enough to stand up in the class and say, okay, can you please repeat this or, go ahead.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we as teachers
Uh,
have to be mindful. And this is a very important point that quiet does not mean empty.
Yeah, that's true. So actually, I'm so happy that we're the visual art teacher. Actually, the visual art class, the students, they start from what they see and what they feel and what they make. We give them time to think. So actually, that is gives the students more accessible way and to interlearning. So I say that art actually opens the door that gives the students another way to begin thinking. Okay, so actually, this is the context of my classroom: multilingual, multicultural, and mixed confidence. Because, like in all the schools I have been worked in, actually, they mix the students with different English level
Yes.
in visual art class. Not like because their English class or the math class, they may have differentiation, like
Different levels.
different levels.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but they actually mix the students in visual art class. So
It's good.
actually,
It's great in
students,
a way.
yeah, students, their English proficiency at different levels, and some students come from, even as they come from the different areas of China, their cultural background actually is still different. So actually, students' understandings about the subjects or about arts and all their art knowledge, they actually difference, and their confidence about express themselves, even though sometimes if the students, their English is not very fluent, but if they're brave to express themselves, so that's can get great progress than the students who are afraid to talk, right? So yeah, that is in my class. And then but actually, even that some students, they are not very strong, even that's in the English or the art making, but actually they can still make the interesting sketches and choose the colors or create powerful compositions. So, but when they explain their work in English, and especially when we ask them to write about their artwork, that will be very like super simple. And so actually this made me to think about the student's voice actually shouldn't be only be judged by written English or oral English. So actually in an art classroom, the student's voice actually appears through like the images and materials or symbols and how they create, or we say that creative decisions. So
here, there's a question for you. Do you think
yeah,
that the new DP guide has
yeah,
worked to the favor of students where they don't
yes.
have English as their first language?
Yeah, actually, that's the new DP guides. It has most strong connection to students' personal work. Actually, the old comparative study needs the students to do a lot of arts history research, analyze artwork. But now the new one, connection study or the artist project, actually that is more connected to students' own art making, and they just need to explain how they got inspiration. And then for HL students, they also need to talk about their potential audiences and to see the audience's feedback, how the feedback or suggestions affects their art making. So that is more connect to students' personal ideas. So I think that is a very good part.
That's
But
very good.
actually,
And also the word
yeah,
count has reduced, I guess, per slide.
yeah, yeah, and I think that is also push students to think harder. Yeah. Okay, yeah, and then here are the okay, so the challenges or the struggle the students with the language barrier. So that's especially like the abstract language. So the words when we introduce like identity
Yes.
conflicts. So because because when we talk about subjects like very objective language like apple or like the wood or like colors, so these can be seen so students can understand. But the abstract language, I think, is the hardest
Yeah, the
part.
hardest.
So yeah, because like tension, the memory, so these are actually concepts.
Yeah.
So this can feel very difficult for the EL students, especially sometimes when I ask them to use dictionary to see in their first language. Maybe for some concepts, they still have difficulties in understanding the meaning of that. Actually, so when we also ask the student to write reflection about their artwork, the artist statements, because I think that a lot of the Chinese students actually they lack of practice in primary school. So they actually they don't have enough like practice to write about their artwork, how to describe what is description, what is analyze the artwork, or how to interpret. So actually they found that is very difficult for that. So actually these are the three main parts that I found that the students feel really struggled with, like explain the artwork, and they don't have the enough art vocabulary, and then their understanding about the abstract language are very difficult, and the reflection, how we can reflect our own art making. So this is what I found actually. It's not just verbal. Actually, students can express their voices from like many like forms, like the images, material choices, symbols, and a composition. color process and personal decisions. So I'm going to use some examples and to explain how the students to choose this and to show their ideas. And actually, all these things are forms of communication. So it happens. These are all happens actually before the student can fully explain the meaning in English. Okay, so I asked my students to have these three steps. Okay, see, think, name, but it's about quite like thinking, uh, like a visualized thinking. Okay, so called yeah, visual thinking, but actually visual thinking is about what you have already know. But this is about like they think name. This is about what students they don't know, but they need to make a conclusion by themselves. So first the students need to look, describe what is visible, and then students start to think. They need to make connection and possible interpretations, okay, based on their like own backgrounds, and then the students name it. They connect their ideas to the vocabulary or the conceptual language they have already known. So actually this structure helps my students move step by step. So they don't need to start with very difficult.
Yeah. Okay. So you practice that as an exercise with the students, right?
Yeah, it won't take a long time, maybe 10,
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Yes.
So, but actually, they don't need to start with very difficult academic language, and they start from the visual evidence that actually helps the student to build the confidence to
Yeah.
express themselves. They don't have to worry about right or wrong, just to talk about what use what they have already known
Yeah.
and to express that. So, let me
And
use
is it
this
also done in
example.
bilingual? Like, sorry, there, the
Yeah.
previous slide. Yeah. Is it also done in bilingual?
Yeah, bilingual.
So
So for
this is
it
the first
depends
time.
because some,
Yeah.
yeah. So I group the students in different groups and then to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
for the students like who like first oh okay first English ELL students,
Yes.
actually they can start to do that. We just need to train their thinking. But for lower level students, I usually give them like sentence frame, but actually we don't
Okay.
have
Okay.
time.
Yes.
Yeah, so but actually the teacher that can create
Suppose
the
the
sentence.
ELL students, they can do it in bilingual also.
Yeah, so teacher can actually design the sentence frames or the guiding questions that based on the reality.
Yes.
Okay, so
Perfect.
let me yeah, show some examples about how we start with visual evidence and not abstract language. So this, yeah. So this is about the students who doing a research about the Chinese traditional arts, the top one. So the students actually observed these patterns and to figure out the meaning of the patterns. So and this one that is about the structure of the form. So actually the students start from the observe the artwork and then they need to point out this. So that is the first process I ask the students to observe. They don't have to, so all these writing things is what they have done later.
Later.
But first they start to observe this and start to use their appropriate way, okay, their comfort way, and to explain or to talk about these artworks. So actually, sometimes I may ask some guiding questions like, "What do you notice?" or "What color do you see?" Actually, this is what always happens in the lower elementary school for when students in the kindergartens or grade one. So the teacher actually helps ask these very simple questions to guiding students to think. But when the students growing up, we always think that students already have the
Already know.
ability to doing
Yes.
that. Yeah, but actually the content is becoming more difficult. So actually students still need that support and from very basic like very
And
basic concept.
Yeah, and they also need
So
to
yeah,
understand the visual language, the vocabulary, and slowly develop it, the command terms, right? So, this is a good idea that
yeah,
through
yeah,
description, you can use the command terms like
yeah,
form, space, positive, negative
yeah,
space, all of that.
yeah. Yeah. So actually, this first step, just to look, observe, that provides a safe place, safe space, and because the students they can answer just based on the visual evidence, they
Yeah.
don't need to have a perfect interpretation yet.
Hmm.
So, and actually for bilingual or multilingual learners, this is very important. Like visual evidence actually gives them something concrete to hold on to, and it helps them to begin speaking or writing with more confidence for the later activity.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So then I asked my students to think, like when they describe what they see. Actually, I asked them to think about the possible meaning, and then they group these patterns, and then they start to think about what mood does this create, or what's the story about this, the patterns or the personal connection, and then ask them what personal connection they can make, and the cultural emotional meaning might these patterns show. So um so at this stage, actually, there's also not only one correct answer. Students actually are encouraged to make guesses
Hmm.
and build interpretations. I encourage my students to give me some super crazy
Crazy ideas.
feedback, or
Yeah.
very interesting feedback, because sometimes when they give the feedback, it causes laughing, and but the students the laughing didn't make the students who gave the answer feel embarrassed, but actually we create a very happy and enjoyable
Yeah.
classroom environment. So that is what we want. We want students to learn with happiness. Okay, so actually, yeah, this will help the students to understand that art analyze is not just about using difficult or just fancy art terminologies, but actually it's about looking
More about
carefully.
finding the relationship between the symbols, but at the same
Yeah,
time building relationship into in within the art space with their friends, with the
yeah,
neighbors.
they need to make connections and to explain the thinking, but with safe, in a safe environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is the thing. Okay, the last part, last step, that's the name. So when the students observe the what is in the artwork, or and then they start to think, give some ideas, and then they need to start to think ideas onto arts terminologies and conceptual language. So actually, it's still the hardest part, but because we need to connect to develop the meaning to the academic language, so sometimes it's very struggled for the lower English level students. So actually, we need to divide the students in different group and help them. So, but thanks for AI, because I start to design the worksheets. I used to based on the ELL or like higher level students English ability, and then I use AI and to ask the AI to create like simple or EAL students
Yeah.
understandable language worksheet, but actually they're still answering the same questions but using what they can understand. So that is a very yes, I think this is very useful, because for example, when we talk about cubism arts,
Hmm.
so the students always say, okay, this part looks broken.
Yeah.
So that is what they can say,
Yeah.
what they can express. But and then I ask them, okay, how this artwork feels, and then they just say, okay, make me feel uncomfortable. Very easy, okay, simple language to express themselves. And so actually, we can connect what they say, like, okay, the broken shapes can create a sense of tension, and then like introduce what is tension. because the tension makes students feel uncomfortable. So it's the scene that make them feel uncomfortable, that is called tension in here, so they can understand these like abstract concepts. So
So these sentence starters, breaking it down, it helps the EL students to at least start putting down what they have in mind in easy terms. And that gives them confidence.
Right. So actually, then when the students actually they move from very simple like visual observations and they feel safe because they have already think, and then when the teacher guides them how to use like academic language to express themselves, it's become more acceptable. And the students, then there, because if I used to taught the students, okay, today let's learn some art terminologies, and then you need to write the sentence with the sentence started and to explain the artwork. And I also create the sample work. Okay, just to learn from this sample work to learn how to write about the artwork, but actually they still can't do that.
I learned from that. It wouldn't work from there. You have to make it simpler and then start.
So actually when we ask the students, like for example, the students analyze the patterns and then they can start to write about the patterns, about what does the pattern means, what the emotions is about, and also these are the material experimentations with materials. So you can see the students create the wax, that is the tie-dye.
Tie and dye, wax art, and then you dip it in paint.
Wax on art, tie-dye. So I think that's, and then students, okay, they have these like arts experiments in the classrooms, and then they had some fun, and then they tell me what they're actually doing. So we make some bulletin points about what they have done, and then they start to explain and make a reflection. So we start from very simple, like very direct visual evidence, and then we help the students to build the language. So that is very, I think it's very useful. So, and now let's move to the IBDP, the new visual arts assessment objectives. Actually, these are the thinking moves that just match what I actually used in my classroom: see, think, and name. So we can have a look. There are like 7 assessment objectives in the new IBDP visual arts, like curate, investigate, generate, refine, resolve, and situate, and synthesize. So we can actually divide them into different groups. For example, like investigate. Actually, that's to look closely, notice pattern, and ask questions. And then these students need to generate or situate about the connect contacts, about audiences. So they try something and experiments, and then they can connect to the context, okay? Talk to the audiences and get feedback, and they can start to refine, change one elements, or they can repeat these 3 thinking moves. And then and then they start to resolve and synthesize, make them together, and then curate the evidence. So actually that is the investigate, that is the see, what we already asked the student to do, and then think. So think, actually the DP visual arts, that divides the thinking into like generate, refine, resolve, situate. And then synthesize, we can say that's the name. So, and then curate, that is another thing. Okay, select and organize the evidence, so we can put the synthesize and curate and like a presentation. So I think that is the it's so interesting. That's what
it's a very nice way of introducing all of these criteria to a new student and the EL student, and in that process they kind of do all of that. They address everything.
Because Some of my like art students, their English level is not very high. So actually, they need very specific moves or strategies to help them, not just making art, because they need to explain the arts. Because not just the DP or IGCSE A level or DP, all these exam or they all highlights the importance of the students thinking, not just the art making techniques. So actually, these moves help students and give students a structure for thinking. So actually, students don't need to begin with perfect English, and they can begin by looking, choosing, making, changing, and connecting. Actually, the language grows from this process. So we're not just teaching students making art, we are using the arts subjects and to guide the students to think. And so when the students, okay, here are some like examples that I want to show how the students to think. Okay, so actually when the students are doing this, the students like very specific structure about how to think, because the first one is observation and then think and then name. So think, that is very detailed, like the DP visual arts listed in the assessment objectives. So here are some examples about how they think. They can create, when they observe, they start to do some observational drawings. So we can see that's the sketches, preliminary learning drawings, and then they test materials or doing some experiments. So these students using prints, lino prints, and then this one is like felt art, and then they need to annotate, do some notes, and then they create the artist research pages, and then they start to do some reflections and the notes. So these are the main actually process or steps that we always love to use in the visual art class, and helps the students to explain their ideas through this visual language. So students actually, their voices appears before the final artwork, and it appears in the choices the students make during the process. So actually, the students, like for this one, this is from my student called Winnie, and she learns how the children sitting on the carpets and in their own room. So she did the observation of the rooms from different viewpoints, and then different types of sitting. So different sofa from different viewpoints, and she also doing the research about the texture study of the materials, and then she starts learning the balance. So here, these are actually my students' examples, and because the process work actually is very important, because that makes the students thinking visible. That is always happens in IG or A-level or DP, or even that AP, you need students to upload the sketches. So actually sometimes the final artwork doesn't show everything. The process actually shows the students' journey, and so in the sketchbooks or the process portfolio, students can actually show their research, sketches, experiments, annotation materials, etc. So these are all the evidence of the thinking. So for EAL students, actually process work is especially helpful because they can combine images and short written notes, and they don't need to write a long paragraph immediately, and they use arrows or labels or keywords, sketches, and to communicate their thinking first, and this will help the students to build their language actually step by step. So that's it's very important. We use the visual evidence and to make the process work and to make the thinking visible, because a lot of my students, especially students who transfer from the other school in the art classroom, because our school is NYP, and NYP requires students to create like process. but some of my new students, just new to the school, they always love to ask me why we have to do this research, why we have to do some like sketches. Art class is just about drawing or painting one piece of art. So that's just always the questions they used to ask me. So I'm trying to help them to understand it's not just making one piece of art. They need to show their thinking. Okay, so then we move to the exhibition because in most students primary school, they actually doing one artwork, and then there's no connection between these artworks. It's just about if it looks nice or not. But actually, even as in the exhibition, we require the students to use these artworks to express their thinking. They should be in one theme or have very strong connection. So when the students have the artworks, actually I ask myself or ask the students like what's the ideas you trying to explore, or like what's like visual evidence did they make, okay, and how do the materials and color symbols or composition communicates meaning. So when I brought my students to the art exhibition, I also provide the worksheets and ask them to think about that. It's not just about, okay, this artwork looks nice. They must think about how these things work together, like how the materials, colors, compositions communicate meaning. And so actually, so for example, if the if the choices of the materials may show fragility, like this architecture, that's what's about this. And then in other work, and she used the large scale of painting and to show her memory about her childhood. Actually, she also wants to express some pressure, not just about her childhood memory. So actually, in another work, that's personal symbol, here this is her like art making, and this is the peppers. And then these actually the personal symbols that to show the identity about the cultural memory. So that is a connection that the students connects the work, not just simply about her childhood memories. So actually through this work, we can see the student not only making the artwork or making objects, they actually communicate their ideas through a series of work. So now from very beginning observations to their choices of materials, sketches, or the artist study, and then from the last step artworks, the series of the artwork, we can clearly see their voices that's expressed through all these visual language. So that is what I want my students to learn or practice in my art classroom, not just making one specific like artworks. Okay, so yeah,
having a
so
common
the
theme
last
and
one,
building the relationship between each of
sorry,
these. Yeah, so you can hear me, right?
yeah,
So it is about
yeah, so
building a
making every,
relationship between the multiple artworks in the common theme.
yeah, and then also the previous steps, that is linked one by one. And even for the last exhibition, it's not about how the artwork is nice or not, still about their thinking. So actually let me like make a conclusion about this. Actually, the visual inquiry in the art classroom is not replace the language. It's actually supports English language. So we use this to boost the students' confidence, and then the teacher start to guide them how to write about, how to reflect their artworks. So when the students are allowed to think visually first, they often become more confident to speak and write later. And they can begin with like images, materials, and visual evidence. And then we need to slowly develop a more precise vocabularies. Actually, for multilingual learners, This is a very powerful because it shows them that their ideas already matter. We want the students to know that, and that even before they have perfect English, because we also talk about these to their parents when the PTC. We don't want students just to improve their English in the class, because the like Eastern Asian parents actually they don't really care about if the students can create a nice artwork. But our art classroom is not, it's also not about making nice artwork, especially for lower, like for middle school or primary school students. Actually, we want them to understand. We want to develop their ideas. So yeah, so we want use this time. Okay, I want to use this time actually to talk about when actually student cannot yet find the perfect words. We teach them or guide them the visual arts or art making as inquiry actually gives them another way to begin. Yeah. So that is all what I want to say. Thank you.
That is fantastic. You've raised a very important point about, how you need to also convey this idea to the parents, and how there's a different kind of expectation from the parents, especially
Yeah.
the Asian belt.
Yeah.
So, can you highlight or put more, emphasis on this and share how do you negotiate or explain your classroom practices to the parents?
Okay, so we have the sketchbooks, but we used the manage bag and with some digital records. But then I still ask my student to have the physical sketchbook because that's the more direct to show the parents how we guide the students to think, and then how their English language develops through from the very beginning, the first page, to the last page of their physical sketchbook, and the parents can see the process and making all these abstract understanding more tangible. So the parents can see that. So okay, so the parents think, okay, oh, the parents feedback always that happens in my PTC. That, oh, we don't know that our class is about this. We thought it's just about drawing. So yeah.
And do you also have an introduction to DP, like a meeting with the parents, so that they know beforehand what are the children getting into? Like we used to do that in our previous school with
Yeah,
child.
because luckily,
Yeah.
my grade 9 and grade 10 students, they are IGCSE students, and they start from actually grade 9 to doing this preparation. But because if the students has no this kind of preparation in the first 2 years of their secondary school, it will make them feel super hard to start in grade 11 DP1, because they don't have like 2 years. They actually just have one
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 and
and
a
a
half
half year,
years. Yes.
less than 1.5 year for DP actually. So in the grade 9 and grade 10, we have IGCSE, but I think that also for the MYP year 4 and year 5, they're actually doing the same thing, because we are guiding students how to make the process, how to use very small visual evidence to express their thinking, and use that as use this and then connect these, select appropriate examples of work to show their creative process. Yeah.
And it's a very important point, so that
So
parents
actually
understand.
in the IG,
That it's not just about making beautiful images,
yeah,
but about documenting the thinking behind making those images.
yeah. Yeah, because in your last like podcasts about MYP assessments, actually MYP assessment criteria is also thinking process, investigating, developing, creating, and reflection. So that is also, so we can see that's in the DP arts or MYP arts, or AP arts, or any like kinds of like art, visual art standards or assessment criteria, we can see that's way in academic arts, that is about the process. I still remember the first year when I was the fresh, I created the artwork and showed to my teacher in my university. And the teacher said, "Oh, you have vivid imagination, but you need to show the process." Actually, I was confused about what process. That's our making process. And then he said, "Your thinking process." So actually, I hadn't done the IGCSE when I was in high school, actually.
Yeah.
So I used to think art is about just making art, but then actually my teacher guided me about, okay, that is about making process. You must show your thinking this visual evidence. So actually that is about like 15 20 years ago. Oh, sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is actually, I think the visual arts, especially the academic arts, learning and teaching have already developed for a very long time. So all the countries are trying to figure out how can we use the visual arts, okay, to show the thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I had not done the IGCSE or IB during my school days, and this is a common understanding that art
Yeah.
classes are something about making art. And the only competition would be the
Yeah.
skill, how skillfully you improve. And the emphasis seems
Yeah.
to be on
Yeah,
that.
that
But I'm so
yeah,
glad
that
that it
was
eventually
what way
changed,
if you
Yeah.
yeah. But actually, there still have a lot of parents and the students believes the art is about making, and the parents really loves to show me, okay, so see, this was done by my children. Look at this nice painting the students have done. But actually, yeah, we need the students to show the thinking, not just from one piece of art. We want them students to find who they are and what they really want to express through their artwork. It's about, it's quite like the language when the students need to write a book or write some compositions, and that actually the same thing.
Yeah. So this leads me to the next question about you were sharing how parents show or students show their existing portfolio. I have had students coming to me or parents showing me the previous work where most of the work were
Yeah.
copies of good artwork from other places, and they look lovely because it's a good rendition of the original, but it does not have the identity or the story of the child themselves. So how do you address that, and how do you encourage the child to think of their own concepts?
Okay, so when we start study, we call that like artist study. So when we start to do one artist study, I ask my students to observe, to see that first, and tell me what they see, what attracts them, or what their interest is artwork, and then they tell me about that. Okay, for example, if they talk about the color. So, and then I'll introduce the color scheme. So it's, for example, if the artist use primary color, so we're not just focusing on the primary color, and then we're talking about the different color families like secondary color, tertiary colors, and then I invited my students to test the different color families in about their topic. Then I use some example, like for example, the artist used primary color in this artwork, to show to make the focal point stand out, and how can you use the primary color to show your theme, and then we change the primary color to the secondary color or color. How will you use another color families then to show your theme? Then use this very simple way and step by step to guide students. This is about the artist study. It's not just about reproduce one piece of art. You must learn from one tiny points from the artist's original piece and then connect it to your own theme.
Sure.
And some students ask me about, okay, I want to do some still life drawing. Do I have to copy or reproduce one artist who are doing still life? And I said, no, you don't have to. You can do a landscape,
Yeah.
or you can do a artist study from the sculpture, but you can also doing a still life painting. So you can learn from perspectives or textures from the sculpture, learns how the artist's brush stroke in the landscape, and to apply or experiments brush stroke in your still life drawing. So the students must pick out very detailed stuff, but not just to copy the artworks.
I address this in my classrooms, but only a small part. Say if we are doing portraits, I say, okay, choose whichever portrait or the study of the master you want to understand, and then take only one part and do a very detailed work of it. So maybe only the eye or only the skin tone. So then the child learns from the artwork, but it goes away from, copying the whole thing exactly and then applying it in their own work.
So we actually doing the same thing. So when you ask the student to reproduce the small parts, actually we're still focusing on one small area about the artwork. So the students just need to focus on that part. They don't have to just to create like totally same artwork. There's no need to do that.
Yes. That's fantastic. So the next question for you is when we're talking about student agency, and that is a very big thing in MYP or DP or any other curriculum. So how do you encourage that in your classrooms?
Students in
student.
Okay, yeah. So actually, I found that sometimes I want to divide my students into two groups because one parts of the students they have ideas, but their English level is not good enough to express themselves. And one is that the students they don't want to do that. Maybe because of different reasons, they're just not interested in arts. So for the groups, for the students who are really willing to do that, it's very easy for teachers to guiding them. Okay, we just give them some hints, and they can always follow the teacher's directions or teacher guides and to do the self explorations quite efficiently. So, but especially for those students who are totally not interested in arts, that is very difficult in the art classroom because this group of students may doing some like silly things in class and or play with the art materials. So actually, sometimes I give them like materials because I believe the babies, they have like sensitive periods and they may interested in their hands. So all the students they want to play with the paint when they was in very early age. So actually I give them the materials, give them time and to get familiar with these super funny art materials. And then actually I also find some like interesting funny arts movies or arts like videos, and because usually the arts work actually is usually about funny history or funny like religion stories. So the students they are interested in these like gossips, all the stories. So with some videos actually that can attract them to use another way, because actually we can see all the students. I have done the research about the primary school students because I found that from KG, kindergarten to grade 2, students are willing to doing art. But actually from the grade 3, when some students they learned or they practiced art making outside school, they can create realistic artwork, or we say
Yes.
nice artwork. But a group of students, they can't do that. So from grade three, actually, those group of students start to losing confidence in making art. So when they enter the middle school or even the high school, they definitely rejected to that. And because for middle school, the transcripts is not important for them to apply for the university, and every students know that. So they actually choose to give up the arts subjects. They don't want to do anything in art class or just create something randomly. So, but I just want to recall their willingness to create art. So help them to feel the art is interesting. Start with playing some materials, okay, and then encourage them. Maybe students create abstract art, but that's, we can say abstract art is art. And actually I found sometimes when the students have like training outside school, and when they compare to the student who had no training outside school in art, actually the students who didn't receive any training outside school, they have like more natural way of thinking and more freedom to express
Yeah, thank
themselves,
you
and
for
their
mentioning that.
artwork actually,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah,
because
and
I have
their
seen these
artwork
students,
actually,
yeah, parents coming to me and saying that would it help the students if the students do art classes outside the classroom? So I would say that instead of doing that, if this child spends more time with their own artwork and the thinking process, that would help. So yes, thank you for highlighting
yeah.
that point.
Yeah, so actually, I found those students, they can create some more natural, powerful artworks. Even that their art making skills is not very good. But actually, I stick their artwork on the wall and then ask them to explain to me, explain that to the group. And then I, appraised this artwork into this artwork, why this artwork is good, and then I explains that artwork, to help students to gain confidence. So I think that's to help the students to get their to find out their like interests about arts making or arts creations. That's more important in the art, in the art class.
Yeah. Another important question for you is how do you encourage students to express through their lived experiences and their identity, the culture, their belonging, their memories? How do you encourage them to start with themselves? Because again, the new guide is emphasizing a lot on their own personal journeys, their own personal connections and identities.
Okay, yeah, so that's time. So actually, it's for young students, it's a bit difficult to find out what they're really interested in, because what's actually around them is about environment, about youth, sadness, anxiety. This is always their like the common theme that they really love to express. So like my students, I always give them some books, the other books, and ask them to read, even fiction.
Oh,
Fiction. And we provide, the documentary, the movies, and I even give them the children's illustration book.
yes, exactly. Oh,
So
I love that.
the
For a very long
children's,
time, yes.
yeah. So actually, children's illustration book, they at the beginning they thought that this was too young, it's so too naive. Okay, it's not suitable for them. Okay, so but I introduced this, like ask them to see how this illustration book have vivid imagination, how they connect to the super interesting ideas, or and helps them to understand. You don't have to worry about the reality. The art, you can create something that's interesting. So if the students want to start about the concepts, like conceptual structure. So we will do that together. We have like one-to-one tutorial when I have our class. So we guide the students to think about when we're doing the conceptual um, ideas, how can we find out the the solids, okay, solids objects or about the concrete ideas that can connect to that conceptual ideas. So no matter this is about the students' own memories or cultures. So because sometimes students they're too familiar with this stuff and they forgot that.
Yeah.
And they always want no. And so one of my students, so the pattern one I just showed there, and she actually talked about her trip to the minority area, and then the students studied this pattern. So this is how she found from her trip. And these students actually, at the beginning, she wanted to do research about her childhood. And then we have discussed about what's her memory about her childhood is about. And then she thought, okay, the small shop that's near her school. And then what I asked her, like, what impressed you about that shop? It's about the food or she said that's about the structure. So then we moved from the child's memories into very specific, the structures, the wall, the whole setting, the outsides of the shop to that specific part. So the students start to think about the artist artwork, about these like broken architecture. Yeah.
That's amazing. And
So
I want to
actually,
add on to that point when you mentioned encouraging students to look at illustrated books. It would also help the students because they will see how these children's illustrations, they sometimes they speak more than words. There would be only a few words to the
yeah,
story. But if you see a double spread, you will find so many details, so many fantasy
yeah,
elements. So it's not just for
yeah,
young, I feel, because I still have the habit of going and revisiting illustration copies. And I find every
yeah,
time I look, I find another detail. So that's a very good
yeah.
exercise for students as well as us.
So actually, for like this artwork, I showed my students my illustration book that if you have the spotlights
Yeah.
and then the book that cuts the shape. So
Okay.
the printing part is one story, and
Yeah.
when you use the spotlights and to
Torch.
that's
Yeah.
can you
That's
can see the shadow on the wall, and that
the
is
shadow.
yeah, the next part of the story. So that can make a interaction between the printing part and the shadow. So actually, these students put the lights in this artwork, in these
Oh,
sculptures, and you can see the shadows
oh
on the wall.
yes.
And she
In the
also
corner. That's
wants to
nice.
show the direction,
Mm,
yeah, between that. But yeah,
mm,
so yeah, so this is about the interaction about this, and these students actually got the ideas from the pop-up book. So
yeah.
these yeah, paper roll that's hanging from the floor, it makes the audiences feel that they are entering and like journey of her artwork. So this is the illustration book she started, and she started with the illustration book, and then it feels makes the people feel that they are actually entering the journey, and then there is a door. So she used foam to make the door and then make the audience to feel okay, they left the store and it feels that they left a story, so they got inspiration from this pop-up book or even the theater
Yeah.
theater like environment. Yeah,
And that's so amazing that when you're exposing your students to different mediums of the art form, like the theater, the music, or the musicals together, you never know from where they get these ideas from. So amazing. And with the rapid fire round, and through it, we'll have some even more interesting discussions. So, the first question, are you ready for the rapid fire?
Yeah.
Okay. The first question is a visual artist every educator must know.
Um, I think this is a prehistoric art. This is not a specific, it's not seen as a specific artist. It's a group of a group of people. They created art to record what happened in their life. That has a very most strong connection to their like daily life. It's about themselves, it's about their hunting, about what they believe. They may celebrated their like hunting success, or they are just using their hand stencil to make it size mark. So I think that's I'd love to study prehistoric art because the very limited artworks that remains we can see today, like the Stonehenge or prehistoric cave paintings. So I think that's it's very important to make the people to think about why we create the art and always keep that belief in the art, no matter how the technology developed or how the art style changed. So we are trying to find out about who we are, like the modern artists in the 19th. So they actually, because the invention of the camera, so they actually start to think about how can they express themselves, what's the future of the artwork, and then they create the various of the artwork or the Renaissance art, because the technology the industry revolution, and then starts everything started to change. Yeah, so like now the AI can come to us, and then the whole world start to talk about if the AI will take over the artist, will take over the designer's job. Obviously, we can see that a lot of designers or artists lost their job, but we still need to keep in mind that's why we create the art.
Yes, and maybe
the art is about the human
develop.
experience. Yeah.
Yes. With this challenge,
Yeah.
we give birth
The
to
art.
a new form of art.
Yeah.
A new
Yeah.
narrative
So we can
that we can
actually
explain
use.
ourselves, or we can at least interpret ourselves of
Yeah.
who we are, why do we paint,
Yeah.
why do we need to express ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think is a prehistoric. Yeah.
Prehistoric, that journey. Yes. Of
Yeah, the very beginning of the journey. Yeah. So, because you see the DP Visual Arts, the art inquiry portfolio is about why we create art. We're doing the research about the experiments with art, and like the artist projects or connection studies, also about how we learned from the other artists. It's also about the connection to our own artwork, to students' own.
Yeah. The next question. A museum or exhibition that inspired you?
Okay. I remember I went to Damien Hirst's exhibition when I was a student, and he showed the cow and a calf that's in the tank with magical, and so that's actually, and I also saw a bull head that you can see the flies inside. So that was the first time it shocked me. It's not about techniques. It's about about how the artwork is nice or not, but actually this is about the way that to guide the audiences and all to think about what's the artist really about, what's the meaning of this artwork. So that's exhibition inspired me and actually impressed me a lot. I still used the artwork, to show to my students and help them to understand the art actually is not about those nice fancy paintings or super skills techniques. Yeah.
Can you share that artist's work?
Yeah. So you can see they put these two like animals that's in the I think this is in the formalin.
Yeah, the liquids. Yeah, the
Formalin.
chemical. Yeah, formalin. Yes.
Yeah, the liquid.
Yeah.
Formalin. And then they show this the mother and child. And you can see he also puts these like different animals in the back here away from the flock. So he actually gave the meaning of the artwork, not just how the artwork is nice or not. Yeah. So
talking about separation.
Yeah,
isolation. We can address those concepts.
Yeah.
The next question to you: sketchbook or a digital notebook?
So I asked my students to keep to the physical and the digital because the digital, because even that the students be a professional artist or they will study in the university, they need to use to keep records about their artwork in case their physical artwork lost or sketches lost. And then they need to learn how to take photo with appropriate lights and the backgrounds. Okay, and for the physical one, I need my students to have understanding about the physical materials, and they must know how the real watercolor looks like, and the differences between the different brands of the paints or what the pastel feels like, because the students can obviously use like digital drawing or art making apps, and then with the different name of the brush stroke. So but if they don't know the physical arts materials, they cannot use the digital tools creatively. So I still ask my student to keep both of these. Yeah, and then I also ask my students to prepare like tiny sketchbook when they have a trip.
Yeah, because each of them, they have a different purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. One thinking routine you use most often?
Thinking routine. Yeah, that is what I said. I introduced like see, think, see, think, name. That is like, thinking routine. I usually use that in the very beginning of the class, like 10 to 15 minutes, and to help the student to build the safe environment.
Okay. A material you love working with. It could be your personal material.
Actually, when I was in bachelor, when I was in my bachelor's, I loved to use paper because we used a lot of like drawing or art making materials and to draw or to paint. But then I saw the paper sculpture artist, and then I was fascinated in the paper sculpture and paper, especially paper relief sculpture. So I thought that how can I use the paper and to create like illustration? So during that time, I was really fascinated in that, and now actually I'm quite interested in like a watercolor painting. So I think the watercolor painting is like playing with water. So it's it's not like oil painting or acrylic painting. So that is the you can like paint over another paint layer by layer. But actually the watercolor painting, especially the Chinese and the Japanese, they have the rice paper.
Yes,
So that
exactly.
which
Oh,
means
I
that if
loved
you
it.
paint, you
Yeah,
only have one chance. You
yes,
only have one chance. So that's like, and then sometimes if you add too much water, it's like the risk. You're taking a risk. So we don't know what happens. So that's just like um it's like the like
adventure.
adventure actually.
Yes, yeah.
uh yeah, adventure, that's we don't know what happens, so we will see. So there's no, I can't say, okay, and if I create cats, I want to paint a cat, but the cat is a furry or not furry, it depends on, okay, how much water I added to the paint. So this, yeah.
When I first started working with the rice paper, I absolutely loved it because things were not under my complete control, and I felt
Yeah,
that it was like life. I can just do my best, but whatever happens around me is not in my control. So it's
that's
a
true. That
very
is very interesting. Yeah.
philosophical connection to rice paper. And when I left China, I got a bag full of rice
Yeah.
paper with me to continue the work.
But actually, it's very funny because when I was a child, we had like Chinese painting class in school, but no one liked it because they thought it's too old style. Only like grandparents loved that. We are not interested. But now actually when I be a teacher, I found, oh, that's just very interesting. But actually this is my culture, but actually we didn't pay a lot of attention to that when we was very young. So that is also I mentioned about my students. They always ignore something or they have already experienced.
Yes.
So
And
the
I also feel
that's
that
because this
it
is
requires a certain kind of maturity, to be working
yeah,
with rice paper and the philosophy of Chinese
yeah,
painting and the emptiness.
yeah,
Because when we're all used to
yeah.
see
This is
the full, very detailed work in the Western art.
yeah,
But when we see the Chinese and the Japanese, so much of the landscape, the empty space, the
yeah.
clouds,
You
the
need to use
sky.
yeah.
So there's a maturity to
We need to use
understand that.
yeah. We need to use like imagination and
Yeah.
to think about what is that in that like space. But actually, that is also the concept. Like in China, we call that liu bai, which means leave the space. But
Oh.
in the like Western art, that is about positive space or negative space.
Mm.
So I also, when I introduce these two concepts, I usually like to put them together and help the student to understand in different cultural backgrounds, they sometimes they have very similar things, but we use different concepts, and then they can connect these two languages and together and to better to understand the concepts in art. Yeah.
Wow, this is fantastic to know. Okay, the next question. One word that describes great teaching.
One work described
One
great
word.
teaching.
A word.
One word. Okay, okay. Space.
Fantastic. That's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
important to delve deeper
Yeah, this
into, to think
space.
more.
Okay, we need to like space. I think that is a space because we need to give the students space and to develop themselves. We need the actually space um to grow up to be a better teacher and to gain the more ideas. And obviously visual arts needs space, the big
Space.
classroom and to
This is
create the
amazing. We're
artwork.
talking about
Yeah.
space in many different levels, not just physical space, but also
Yeah.
the space in the next
Yeah.
level.
So actually I like structure. I always ask my grade 9, like first year I just assist students to start because when they once they understand the creative process and step by step, and actually we start with one teacher-led unit that's I give them the theme is called the structure. So we analyze like different ideas about structure. We have the physical structure, we have conceptual structure. So the students need to figure out what structure, because structure involves a lot of things: the human body, the landscape, the architecture, and even the food chain. And it's very functional, and it helps the students to understand, because the students, their understanding about the structure are different. Because I remember that when we had the structure in grade 9, and one topic in grade 10 when they're doing IGCSE is communal space. So actually my students found that it's very easy to analyze communal space. And when students create communal space, like the bus, so bus, that's people that's the seat or standing the bus and to go to anywhere. And the people that's the have different backgrounds. So when they enter these communal spaces, even that they're not talking,
Yes.
but they're like souls, or their ideas, they are like moving within the inner space, and then they left the bus. So actually the students, the structure is very good to help the students to learn how to start from a very general topic, and then to develop very specific.
Yes, it's a very nice example.
Yeah.
So these community spaces, and in fact, that gets me to point when I was living in China, the government or this society, they encourage these community spaces. I would see, elder ladies coming together to dance together, do their evening workouts.
Yeah.
That was so common, and the parks were so living. All the families, the fathers would take care and play with the kids. So there's a lot of community space that is encouraged by the government and the people. So this is a fantastic topic,
and it's so
and speaks
funny.
a lot about the culture.
Yeah, it's so funny. And the IGCSE gave this like theme, like starting points as parts of their paper.
Oh, wow. I'm sure they had a lot to speak about. And the last question to you would be one hope you have for the future of education. We spoke briefly about it, but one hope that where you see us in 10 more years.
Yeah, because there are too many things happening in the world now. Actually, the IB's mission is about creating a better world. So I'm thinking about how can I actually guide my students? How can we help my students to not to contribute to the better world, but actually how can they doing something and to making the community or the small environment that they are located in a better space. So they may, because I'm also the EE coordinator, so I'm thinking about when the students to doing like writing about this essay, it's about the curiosities. It's not about the essay, the framework of the essay or structure. It's about how they start from their curiosities, and then they start to the research, the questions they want to research deeply, and how they can connect what they learned, like in one or two subjects. How can they use the subject knowledge and to doing some research based on their curiosities or their worries about the world. So it's not about, because for the students who actually learning DP or IGCSE or this curriculum in China, they actually come from a very wealthy family. And this group of people, when they grow up, they actually they're they're
Influential people.
controlling.
Yeah.
They,
They have the
yeah,
power to
yeah,
do
they're
something.
controlling a lot of
Yeah.
wealth in the world. So what they can do, they can destroy the world. They can also contribute to the world. So we want this group of students to think about what they can do, not just about the money, about like privacy, private like flights, all those kind of things. I want them to find out what they can really do to help the world, help the people. Okay.
And even IB encourages it, having extended essay or even CAS. That is a very direct method in
Yeah.
which artists or all these students, they can actually look into the real life applications of whatever they're learning. So even
Yeah.
at
So
that
I think
young
that's just
age, they can
uh,
make a difference.
yeah, so I think that is a very important. That is also what I think that's in the future. I don't want the education is just about, okay, I can go to the Ivy Group universities or the G5 uh, university in UK, or and then I worked in the about the business or finance and to get a lot of money and to see what we can really do. Yeah, because a lot of my like students, what they want to do is, okay, one day when they graduate from university, they can go to the hedge funds and to be the hedge fund managers and get a lot of money. But I still want them to think about what they can use, how they can use their knowledge and to contribute to something that's still not nice enough in the world. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jia. This felt so good speaking to you this Sunday morning. And I'm sure all the educators watching the episode will gain so much and so much to think about. I've taken back so many little threads that I can spend my week thinking about. This was really good. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much to talk with me.